Welcome to the podcast. This was a fun one. I had Bharat and Subbu on again for this one. We discussed quite a lot of different things on this one. We talk about AI and automation. We imagine a world with double the average life expectancy as today's world. We inevitably end up talking about football for a bit. We discuss what we are doing to keep ourselves occupied during lockdown and much more. I bring you episode 3 of the podcast. Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast.
Hey, what's up?
Okay, uh, so this is something I've been talking about for a long time now. So for everyone who's known me, I am someone who's pretty alarmist about automation and AI. I've written about it before, and I talked to a lot of people about this. Um, I wanted to see if you guys are as alarmist as I am on this topic. So um, I do feel that within our lifetime, we are going to see a massive shift in how automation influences our life. So I do expect that at least maybe not in the active ages of our life, but by the time we retire, I expect a um, huge majority of all jobs on the planet to be automated. Do you guys share that concern, or are you more optimistic than I am?
I would say yes and no. And I'll explain that as well. So I would I, I would agree with you in the sense that there is going to be a lot of jobs lost because of the development in technology and science. But at the same time, I do believe that automation in any field is still going to be sold as a business, as a commodity. So ultimately, you're going to come to you know a world where I believe one or two organizations, revolutionize the concept of automation in their respective fields. Let's say one, organization does it for medicine, one does it for technology, one does it for, uh, let's say, any emergency care. Uh, so once the first step is taken in that direction, as to validate the whole process and set up something called an automation task force, wherein the takeover is basically complete, and that organization has started to reduce the number of workers. They would in turn sell this as a business or as a commodity to other organizations and make money out of it. This is something that's actually happening, but in a very small scale right now. So anything that's automated is definitely going to fetch you more money. That's without question. Uh, and I also believe, since it's going to take this path, uh, the reduction in jobs is not going to be exponential as feared, but at some point in time you are going to see tasks automated, but not necessarily whole operations. So I would assume a task that requires 100 people to work in coalition at this point, in the future may require, let's say, 20-25 people to do the same work with the help of machines, obviously. But at the same time, implementing that whole setup would actually cost a lot of money. Yes, it's a one time investment, but it's still enabled or provided as a service by another organization which has the process completely vetted out and tested extensively to ensure it's going to work after it's set up. Because there have been so many technology developments in the recent past, that some of which I see day to day in my life as an engineer in IT, that have had a really good start but have faded away, in the sense that the real time issues that crop up because of because of gaps in the technology, if I may call it that, aren't exactly well addressed because of the negligence of the organization in part, and also due to the fact that there aren't enough cases to help them study and recreate the issue. So the lack of pattern there is another thing that's being a roadblock. So I do believe even with the advent of automation, there's going to be chunks where it's not a complete a complete process that's in place, but it happens through, I don't know, patches or
Okay, it's only parts of the entire operation, is what
yeah.
you're saying.
I really don't see a world in 30 years, even 30, 35 years from now, that will completely, overthrow workers and run the office with machines. No, I don't see that happening. But I do agree with you in the sense that people are going to lose jobs. They're going to have to be creative on what they want to do and how they want to, really make a living out of a world wherein
Okay, you're
everything.
breaking up a bit.
Uh, yeah. So, as I was saying, I do agree with you in the sense that we are going to see a reduction in job opportunities, definitely. And I guess mankind has to, I don't know, develop as automation develops as well.
Okay. I would like to get Bharat's take on this before I do have some comments on what you said, but
But
what do you think, Bharat?
I feel automation goes hand in hand because, as far as I've seen, and as far as how we've been using automation for the past few years, it's actually been helping workers to make their jobs easier. I don't think it's really affecting a lot of jobs as of now. Like take Amazon for example. Uh, they've been using robotics for most of their fulfillment centers, most of their processes and operations, but they they still have over 100,000 employees working in the warehouses. So it's actually going hand in hand where they use technology to help warehouse workers to get their job done easier rather than putting in a lot of efforts. So I'm guessing it's still going to continue that way where we use technology and automation to you know help employees and workers of an organization. So that's my take.
Okay, so do you think that it's like a moral responsibility to do that, or do you think it's physically impossible to automate everything? So, like you say that the warehouse workers right
Mhm.
now, they're using machines to make their jobs easier, but
Mhm.
if there exists a technology that in which you could have machines where do everything, should Amazon still be morally obligated to employ real people?
Uh, End of the day, it depends on how much it's gonna cost and how much they're gonna save. But I still feel that there would still be scope for human beings to be there and either supervise how the automation is going on, or um, I mean basically they would need help of a human touch at the end of the day, even when they've automated a lot of stuff.
Okay, so I kind of want to rewind a bit to what Subbu said. So I think the main two things that Subbu brought up was that you believe that automation is going to start as a product that one company sells, and I think that model is pretty accurate to for listeners to have a good example. One of it would be uh, Google's speech engine, for example, for uh, like automated conversations. So that could be sold to telemarketing companies all around the world, and they could replace essentially their entire task force with this program from Google and have them sell their product, have the program sell their product instead of people. So I kind of do agree that most of the brain power for automation is going to start with a few big companies that are investing in R&D for automation. And I do think that although this can, like you said, companies have the freedom to opt in or out of this because essentially it's a commodity that they need to buy from Google in this example. But I just feel like the smaller companies who refuse to buy into this automation wave are just going to lose out because, uh, by all standards, having one software from Google is going to cost way less. than having an entire task force of people, and you need to pay. There's so much with people, right? You have to. There's human resources for them. There's you have to take care of their benefits and whatnot. So humans cost a lot, and humans expect promotions and whatnot. But a program simply does its tasks as it's expected. So I just feel like at one point, and again, I want to make this absolutely clear. Like both of you had reservations about automation being implemented right now, and I completely agree with you on that. I don't think we are in a point. So I work in manufacturing, and we still require human hands on a lot of things. But to say that we will never reach a point where everything can, in theory, be automated is, I feel, being too short sighted. And I think we are extremely underprepared for that end game right there, because uh, I feel like so much of what we humans do as a species depends on, revolves around our work. Our lives basically revolve around our work. So uh, I fear that there's no backup to fall on if everything does get automated. So yeah, I want to make it clear that I don't expect these changes to happen in the next, even in the next 20 years, but I feel like it's going to happen, and we are extremely underprepared. That's my concern.
Yeah, probably. Uh, I think one main thing that humans need to do at this point is to embrace change in this regard, because it's one thing to actually say automation is going to take your jobs and to actually prepare for it.
Mm,
The other side of things is to actually shun what you're doing or what you have been doing for the uh, you know greater part of the last decade or more, and accept the fact that you're going to be replaced by something which is more efficient, uh, less error prone, and ultimately a lesser cost to your organization. And it's definitely going to be preferred over you at some point in time, but I don't see that happening for the next 3 decades. I would probably think
yeah, I don't
uh,
either. Yeah.
our children, when they reach a working age, an
Mm,
employment age, I think their generation would actually see this kick in.
mm,
uh, that's when I feel there would be a closure, if I can call it that, to a process, to an entire process, in terms of automating it, irrespective of the field. See,
mm,
with the way tech is evolving, you can never say never on anything that's associated with tech. Anything that remotely
yeah.
even depends on efficient tech. Anything as a service, anything offered as a service is going to boom exponentially, as technology and science develop with artificial intelligence, data analytics, and whatnot. But at the same time, Bharat made a really good point about supervision. I do agree with that as well. uh, I do
No,
believe.
that's I forgot to add that, but like you could have robots monitoring robots. In any case, the end is that, so a human. So because I have a think I'm in a good position to talk about this, because I work in quality in manufacturing, which is essentially our job, right? To monitor the health of the product exiting the manufacturing line, and more of uh, our products are being monitored by um, automated vision systems right now, because uh, and the simple answer to that is because human inspectors were missing too many too many defects. Like we were having too many escapes onto the field because human inspectors were not doing a good enough job. So they had to move over to um, uh, like vision systems, like where a camera would pick up a signal and it would use machine learning to
Mhm.
see a pattern in it. Uh, so I don't know. Like I feel again, I I feel like I'm more alarmist on this than you guys are. It might be because of the type of people I follow or the books I've read, but I certainly feel that you can reach a point where it's absolutely machines all the way down, and you could you could run the entire world on it. Because if you think of it, every job that we do, even as engineers, is basically data processing, right? Uh, we look at stuff, we make a decision based on what outcome we expect, and we implement it. And in theory, any uh, like like pseudo intelligent machine should be able to do that. And that's where my fear really is. And again, I'm like, I'm extremely worried that none of the governments or the leaders of the world are talking about this.
I mean, I do get your point, but if there's one thing that we human beings are good at, that's thriving and being dynamic in this world. I mean, look at all the changes that we've been through. Like things have been automated ever since what early 1600s. There's a lot of automation going on every century. So you're talking
Yeah,
like
but
as if Skynet's going to be launched and they're going to destroy the human race, but but the thing is, it's nothing to be worried about because I think we're really futuristic already. We always think of the future, and I'm sure human beings they're gonna uh, get up to get up to speed, and even they'll probably be working on automation. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of scope even when there's a lot of automation going on. Like people will be building all these automation tools, so we would still need human efforts to do all that.
Yeah,
again,
totally.
robots building robots.
See, at some point, yeah, I mean, as Bharat said, I totally agree with the fact that I really don't feel threatened at this point. I don't feel it's coming for me. But uh, from a preparedness standpoint, I believe it's important to embrace this as a part of operations first. It's not going to change in a snap of a finger. It's going to be a gradual process wherein your operations are reduced. The dependency of your operations on human workers are actually reduced on a, let's say, a yearly basis, or a 6 month basis, wherein you identify the fact that this process can be automated, and the working population in that particular sector of your of your industry, of your business, can take you know a reduction in working population from, let's say, a 50 in number to a 25 in number. That's going to
And
happen.
what
And
happens to these people, though?
yeah, that's a good question. I would say, look, as automation develops, I believe new ventures would also develop, in the sense that to actually make this a viable option for underdeveloped communities, not necessarily countries or continents. Underdeveloped communities, underdeveloped meaning not in terms of lack of resources, but a lack of awareness on what is going on. There are several communities that I really see, or I don't see, I observe in a day-to-day life, wherein uh, the work that they do can actually happen with lesser personnel, but it's their reluctance to change, because they are of the mindset, I believe, that why fix something when it's not broken. They don't mind, I mean, they actually do mind going the extra mile to achieve efficiency, because they believe, so when you actually break it down, every individual has a role to play in the successful functioning of that organization. But at the same time, if you really want to get down to the bits and pieces, 100 people can definitely be replaced by 80 people, even today in most companies. Even in most companies that are, let's say, supporting more than 1,500 employees at one location, you can definitely reduce the number of employees. But there is this moral factor involved as well, in the sense that people who've been there, slaved for you for like 20 years straight, what do you do with them? You just cannot wash them away. That's just not fair for the effort, for their time, for the investment that they've made in your technology, in your company. It's just not fair to them. So I do believe, even with the advent of automation, the change has to be gradual. It cannot be something that's implemented in a day or a week or a month. It has to happen
Okay.
over a period of, let's say, 2 3 years, especially for bigger organizations. That way, the moral factor is as minimum as possible
Mhm.
for actual owners when they wish to uh, you know literally chalk off employees by the bunch.
Okay, that brings us to a really interesting topic that I was wanting to get into. The really the moral implications of this. So, do you feel like a company? I think I asked this question before, but at what point do does a company say, "Hey, okay, we've been holding on to this human workforce for long enough now, but it's just too efficient. Uh, not, I mean, it's too inefficient not to switch over." At that point, will they be? Do you think they should be morally obligated to still keep those humans employed because they would essentially be jobless? And I also wanted to touch on another thing that you said, Subhu, with like gradually switching over. Uh, but again, what happens to these people though? So again, a good example would be truck drivers, right? If you have self-driving trucks, and even if it's just one company that decides to switch, and Amazon's actually actively looking at this, so if they decide to change their entire fleet into automated ones, you're essentially looking at millions of jobs lost. And of course, there's going to be new jobs created in the field of self-driving, but you don't expect truck drivers to have the skill set required to contribute in self-driving research. So you have this huge population of people who have been truck drivers for their entire lives who have nothing else to do right now. So um, are Amazon at that point morally obligated to keep them employed? Is my question.
Okay. Moral obligation is something that's really personal, I would say. Not to an individual, but I guess at least to a board of an organization. Also, I would actually add this as a valid factor as well. Several ways to actually, morally adhere to employees who have been serving you for a considerable amount of time. I would agree that this is not a fair compensation, but nevertheless, this is something that would at least part let them part ways in good spirit.
Mm.
Uh, Something like a one-off compensation. This is something that my organization did very recently, last year actually. There was a lot of cleanup in terms of getting rid of old employees who were actually a part of my organization for, let's say, 25, 30 years. So what they
Mm.
did was actually give them a big one-time settlement and ask them to, call it quits or retire for the outside world. And they did
See,
that. So
again, that's not really fair, is it?
yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. So this is something that would be acceptable, at least
Mm.
on some level.
Mm.
Uh, if you really want to talk fair, we are never going to actually have that, in implementation because
Should the government be involved? Maybe like force all big companies to have so many human workers.
maybe that could be a plausible solution, but again, when you really have the government taking control at that point, you're really shutting the door on how much you can grow with the advent of
Yeah,
automation.
yeah. And it
That
also, I think a lot of people are going to complain that as soon as private companies are being controlled by a government, you're looking at socialism and
Right, right.
whatnot.
So many other there's too many moving parts to this discussion, but to sort of keep it a little relevant and precise, I would still say uh, the organization is obligated to at least take care of their immediate needs, if and when they are actually taking out employees by the bunch. They should ensure the employees are in a self-sufficed state, uh, for the next 5 years, I would say, at the point of actually taking them off payroll, cover their health expenses, cover their give them a one-time settlement, and give them benefits like never before, or something like that, to actually compensate for the fact that uh, they're actually pulling the plug without let's say, prior announcements, because not every company is going to be prepared for this. I totally
Yeah.
agree with your point when you say the level of preparedness, or the level of the awareness in the community is less. Yes, it is less, but at the same time, how much are you really looking at when you say this is going to happen in 40 years? I don't see this. I agree with your point that small businesses may actually, be absolutely demolished because of this, but at the
Mm.
same time, the dependence of bigger organizations on delegating, smaller tasks to companies that are essentially startups, that has actually risen over the past decade, in the sense that earlier it used to be a service that was rendered as a contract. Now, the only thing that's changed is bigger organizations like, let's say, Google, Microsoft, Amazon, name whatever you want. uh, they acquire the smaller startups as opposed to handing out contracts. That way, it comes under one umbrella, and it's a lot easier to manage. And pretty much anything which is expense related becomes, a singular entity, rather than taking care of 12 different payrolls for 12 different contracts. They acquire 12 companies, give them big settlement, make them work under their umbrella. That way, everything is a lot more, you know uh, coherent, and I guess easier to manage as an organization. So,
Okay.
uh,
I think
there
we're,
is two sides, but the current way I look at it is this is not happening for the next 30 years. So,
you're not
we
you're not worried.
uh, not worried is not, I don't want to undermine the magnitude of something like this, but I would just say, as Bharat said, we have been evolving ever since, the advent of time. So this would be something that
But
humans would have.
again, that is something that's like, I feel like that analogy is so bad because we've never had the information technology before now.
Right,
We
right. So all I'm
have
saying is we would tackle this head on, and we'll probably not come out of it unscathed, but at the same time, it wouldn't damage, the existing balance in the community as much as
high fear. I
you
think,
actually, you care, and
yeah,
you tout it to be. That's what I feel. It's going to damage, yes, but at the same time, I think it's going to open up a lot other windows, a lot of other windows, and I feel the balance would would be restored, at least to a certain acceptable level.
okay, okay. I'm just glad that at least you guys are more optimistic than I am. I want to kind of steer away from this topic. If Bharat, you don't have anything to say.
I just have one thing to say. Robots are actually created to ease human beings their efforts. So there is always going to be scope, because there's one thing that robots cannot do is to predict what human beings actually want. So human beings, for example, the stock market, they can always invest in stock market and make money. Human beings, they can just sit at home and make money. So they can invest in these robots, or all these companies investing in automation. So there is still scope for a lot of opportunities for human beings in the future. So yeah, I'm optimistic that this is not going to cost a lot, but it's going to make life a bit easier. But I know, yeah, people are going to lose a lot of jobs, but then again, we have to be dynamic in this world to learn new things, or you know find ways to make money, or survive in this technology driven environment. So yeah, I am optimistic there's still going to be a scope for a lot of lucrative opportunities.
Sweet. Okay, now I'm gonna kind of force you guys to think the way I think,
Mhm.
and kind of imagine a scenario for a future world, maybe 100 years from now. So imagine a world where every job that exists is automated, right? So you have robots making robots that uh, manufacture goods. They supply. We get supplies of food automatically delivered to the stores, and we can just buy it. And like everything in this world is automated, and you don't need to work at all. You get a check every month from the government, essentially a universal basic income. So you have enough to, you know, do whatever you want, basically. Um, in this world where no one is required to work, what what do you think you would do? Uh, what would your purpose be in this planet, and how much of your purpose in life do you think right now is coming from your work life? And do you think it's essential, or do you think if people stopped working, we would all go crazy?
I am for this. Whatever you mentioned right now, that looks like a great future to me because uh, because people can actually start working on self improvement, staying healthy, and there's always going to be entertainment field. So like for example football, I mean they're not going to make robots play that. So there's always going to be entertainment factor that human beings need, and they watch on a daily basis. And also they can start working on improving themselves, like either physically or mentally or even financially. So um, I mean, so I don't see a huge drawback in this. I don't think people would go mad because of this. It's not going to drive people crazy.
What about rampant drug use and sex parties?
I mean, in a future like that, I'm sure that's going to be controlled too, with all these robots put in place. So, I mean, for
Yeah.
sure. I mean,
No, but yeah, like so. I think Bharat described like a really, again, a super optimistic viewpoint, that I also share almost. I feel like people, again, will get into self improvement. People will travel a lot. People will experience things that they always wanted to do. I feel like more people would have time to read the things that they always wanted to, do the things that they always wanted to. There's just a lot more free time, but a lot of people also fear that the opposite might happen, where people end up like the people on Wall-E, where they're like sitting at home, eating, playing video games all the time. They're not productive at all, and they live in uh, yeah, there might be excessive drug abuse. Like nobody would essentially want to do anything productive for themselves because there's absolutely no reason to do so. Uh, so that's like the other extreme. Subbu, where do you fall in this spectrum?
Yeah, so I'm gonna have some differences of opinion here. I believe in a world that's completely automated, the perception of productivity would change. What you
Mm,
define as being productive would take a whole new meaning, and
mm,
you know, uh, entertainment is a very good medium, I would say, which would require human intervention, just for the
mm,
pure reason that art is something that's not defined, that is not curtailed by a certain set of actions. It is something
mm,
that's a lot to do with the emotional side of humans.
mm,
So be it movies, be it sports, so from a survival standpoint, someone who is happy being the average Joe is going to be, you know, is going to feel sufficient with what is being provided to him, and he's not going to go out of his way to actually prove a point or to achieve something. Uh,
mm,
but at the same time, I also believe that there's going to be a difference in the way uh, we approach the time we get. I mean, today when you okay, I'll actually adhere to a personal life example here. Right now, for the past 2 weeks, I don't know, or I have been disassociated with my identity, with my self identity, if not for work, because of the fact that my main outlets are sports, playing sports, watching sports, writing about sports, or talking about sports. Um the fact that there is nothing going around all across the world, and also us being curtailed to stay at homes as much as possible, is driving me nuts. Not for the fact
mm,
that I'm working, from home harder than ever. Work, I like work, but I don't have an identity right now for the past 2 weeks without work. It's hard for me to, organize my thoughts, to stay in good mental shape because of this pandemic. So
Mm,
I do believe, uh, this change, 100 years from now, if you want to put it that way, or that particular situation is going to warrant a certain set of actions which aren't necessarily, usual or mundane, which are necessarily perceived as usual or mundane right now, but it would be at that point in time. I really cannot give you an example here because I can't think of anything that would be, but I'm pretty sure there are certain things that would change with the availability of time to people. You know, uh,
mm,
you know, the way they do certain things. Let's say, everyone would actually want to invest time in cooking, for example. Nobody would want to just, order food, get it done in 10 minutes. Considering, let's say, they have time in their hand. Number one, they have the resources that's needed. Number two, for food. And you know they become more health conscious because of the fact that all they do is stay at home, watch TV, eat food with the funds that are being provided. So that I do believe, despite all the differences in the way the world functions, there would also be corresponding changes that would articulate a certain set of, I would say, uh, characteristics, um,
mm,
to pertaining to that world. So, for instance, today, when the weather is fine outside, you see a lot of people go for a jog. What I'm trying to say here is there would be a commensurate characteristic associated with the world 100
the
years from
future
now,
world. Okay.
which would define what people are supposed to do at a certain point in time,
Mm,
depending on geographic or the climate, or pretty much the mood and stuff like that. So I do
mm,
believe we are going to see new things come up, but uh, and again, as I said, productivity is something that's going to take up a whole new meaning as we move forward into this world which is completely automated. So productivity
okay.
will become a lot more self scrutinized
Mm,
rather than
mm,
being evaluated by others. So
mm,
I believe, mental state of things would take a much higher precedence than what they
mm.
have right now.
Okay. Again, a lot of things there to unpack.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, yeah, I think I mostly agree with everything that you said. So I think the two key takeaways there is number one, uh, productivity is going to be defined differently in that world. I completely agree with you on that. For example, I think they've already been discussing stuff like this. For example, raising a kid that would that is considered it's not considered a duty right now, right? It's not considered a job essentially, but in that future world, that could be like a source of meaning where you invest all your time and energy into the raising of your kids, uh, and you try to get the similar kind of feeling that you get from job satisfaction from raising your child, and from taking care of your own body. Uh, yeah, like you said, the values and the norms of that world is going to be completely different from the ones that we have right now. And I also wanted to comment on the lockdown situation and how it's kind of simulating that environment for me. So like I said, I work in manufacturing, so I am completely not working right now, and I'm essentially living on money that the government is providing me. So it's like an exact uh, replica of the scenario that I described. So I'm sitting at home doing no work and getting paid. And do I feel like I miss working? Maybe a little, yeah. But again, I feel like I have a lot of time in my hand that I can use for whatever purpose that I want. So, this podcast, for example, was something that I always wanted to do. And every single time that I wanted to get it started was basically because of the lack of time. And as soon as I got all this free time in my hand. It didn't take me too long to put my effort into it and actually get it done. So again, I'm pretty optimistic about humans in this kind of world. I feel like we are not going to go crazy or hurt ourselves in the long run. Any comments on that, or we could actually move this on to a different topic?
Yeah, I said everything I wanted to say. We could roll if Bharat's good.
I mean, that's basically what I said. I mean, there's always scope for self improvement, and people can
Yeah,
actually invest time on things that they actually want to do, rather than trying to just prove their point to this world by doing something else. So, I mean, yeah, we're just going to a different iteration of the same thing again now.
I
Mhm.
mean, yes, it's an unspoken truth that look forward to this more than anybody else. Uh, give him a chance, and he's going to grab it with both hands. Say, I'm not doing any work anytime soon. I'm just going to chill. So, but yeah, there's too many moving parts to actually, give it a proper conclusion. But we have touched on a lot of
Okay.
factors which we believe are
Yeah,
going to.
Subbu, I wanted to ask you uh, before we move on, Subbu, I wanted to ask you um, one question because I feel like you are a certain kind of person. So I want to ask you about how much work is important as a from a philosophical standpoint for you. Because I of all the people I've met, I feel like you have always been someone who puts in a lot of effort into his work, even if you don't enjoy it as much. But you almost have a I don't know, a drive to be good at at the job that you do, even if you don't enjoy it. Um, I, for one, find myself struggling to put in effort into a work that I don't enjoy. But you certainly have a different perspective, at least at least in my opinion.
Yeah,
So
your opinion's
what?
not.
Okay,
Uh,
well, so let me just round this off nicely. So, what exactly do you think is the role of work in your life, and do you think it gives any like a deep underlying meaning for existence or something like that?
The answer is circumstances.
okay, that was so melodramatic, but okay. Look, I believe it gives me purpose, but it doesn't define who I am. There is actually a lot of disparity between the two, at least in a personal case. So your, diagnosis of the kind of person I am is in large part true, but I would also add that there has been as I said, purpose is something that's a major cause for my drive. Uh, I believe uh, I have to be invested in what I do more than anybody else for me to one like it, two succeed at it. I think the success part is important, especially in a contemporary world where I am competing for I would say recognition. I'm competing for the position that I hold in my organization. Uh, take this podcast for instance. So when I express my views here, I don't mean to actually demean any of yours. Neither do I completely agree or disagree, because I believe this is a medium which is not really evaluating me as an individual, evaluating my performance. It's more in line with what I feel and what is my opinion on a certain set of things. So
Mm,
while I actually do when I actually complete or when I actually invest my time and my due diligence to something like this, it gives me a lot of pleasure and I believe these kind of endeavors define me as a person in addition to what I do, which is work. So,
mm,
the philosophical side of things, to answer your question, work in itself doesn't define me as a person, as to who I am. So, if someone looks at me for 40 hours a week, they won't know the kind of person I am in a complete sense,
mm,
right? But this, so uh, let me put it this way: you stay with me for 2 years, right?
Mm,
Uh, and you and I have commonalities in the sense that we discuss about sports, and we discuss about stuff like socialism, uh, being an atheist, and stuff like that. Whatever we used to discuss when we were roommates a year and a half ago. And there is another friend of mine who's strictly a work friend who sees me more than you do technically because I work 40 hours a week in the office.
mm,
I would still say you would know a lot more about me than he would because of the simple fact that I open up myself more in an environment where I'm comfortable and not being evaluated.
mm,
I would the fear of failure is also something that drives me. I never want to actually be left behind.
mm.
So that's another thing that propels me in whatever I do. And it's not as much a winning mentality. It's a mentality which says never lose, always learn. So I believe work in itself has is an important part of my identity, but it is not completely going to give you the picture of who I am as an individual.
Do you
But
have
right now,
any?
in this pandemic, it's kind of in an imbalance because there is really no outlets for me to exhibit my personal traits, and I'm struggling to actually find my identity outside of work.
Mm.
And that's another reason I've been actually bombarding myself with additional tasks so as to ensure I'm mentally stable and equipped or involved with something
Mm.
for the larger part of the day.
What about you, Bharat? Do you think? Uh, do you also consider work as like Subbu almost described as a competition to prove to yourself and to the system that you are not a failure? Is that how you see it, or is there a different way you see it?
uh, I mean, it's everybody's perspective. I mean, obviously, I would always want to be best at whatever I do,
Mm,
even if it's out of sometimes if it's out of my interest, because I'm eventually going to do it anyway. So yeah, I mean, I stand with Subbu on this one. So yeah.
okay.
Mhm.
Okay. I'm gonna make a change in topic here because I've been stuck here for a while. So this might be an interesting one because again, it's about personal opinions. So in the last 150 years, we've had a jump in life expectancy from close to 45 to almost 80 now in the world average. Uh, with the advent of biotechnology and modern medicine, it's not completely insane to expect that in the next 150 years we do another doubling in our life expectancy. So if our life expectancy goes to something crazy like 160 or 170 years uh, because of because like stem cell research is so good, we found ways to de-age tissues. We found the cure for cancer. We know how to do organ transplants. We know how to regrow organs and whatnot. So imagine we exist in a world where the average life expectancy is 160 years. Okay, and let's also imagine that uh, the age scales linearly. So, for example, if you are 40 years old in that future world, you still look like 20 in today's world, because if you look uh, from if you look 80 years old up to the age of 160, I don't think anyone would want that. So let's assume that we age linearly. So um, when you're 80 years old, 150 years from now, you're going to have a 40-year-old's body and fitness and mental health. So the question I want to ask you, and I don't know how many of you guys I'm going to get in trouble with this one, but in that world of life expectancy of 160, would you be, or do you think humans would be monogamous? Would you have only one wife for 160 years?
Wow, I actually you had me for the first half of the discussion, and you end up being oh God, questioning me about monogamy. Really? Okay, fine. Yeah, well,
Okay,
uh,
we'll also get into the other stuff, but uh, let's start with this.
I do believe at that point monogamy would be something very, very extremely hard to adhere to. I do believe monogamy would be really uh, difficult to adhere to in such a world where it's going to be linear aging, but fitness and the way we respond to situations is going to be markedly different because of the physical traits a man or woman possesses. Uh, I also am a little inclined uh, to actually think that the traits that we wish for in a person of the same sex or the opposite sex, whatever we desire, would change, would actually elevate to a level wherein uh, we might actually end up being completely unreasonable with our standards or aspirations, if I can call it that, because of the simple fact that we might actually end up doing something like this. You'll be capable of a certain set of things uh, at the age of XXX, and you meet someone who's 10 years younger. You believe them to at least match you, if not better you at a certain set of things.
Wait, but everyone's like that. It's not just you who's like that. Everyone's like that. And
Okay,
also, please take note, future Mrs. Subu, on what he's saying.
God, I do hope she listens to this, but that's not happening. But I guess the demands would change, and I think this would warrant something like an early divorce, if I can call it that. People wouldn't think twice to actually change partners, just for the simple reason that there's a plethora of people available with pretty much the same.
Is
uh,
it because there's a lot of people available? Like, of course, there's a lot more people in that age range. So if people between the age of 20 and 45 are actively dating in the current world, in that world you'll have people who are dating between the age of 20 and 90. So of course there's going to be a lot more people who are dating. Do you think that is going to be the reason why people have multiple partners, or is it going to be because it's just too difficult to be with one person? Like you're going to get tired of being with one person for that long.
I do believe that as long as demands aren't exceeding what's reality and what's possible, I believe the couple would be content staying with each other. But at the same time, just the allure of actually being able to look for other options, since that has exponentially increased with the way things are in this imaginary world. I think people would be a lot less committed, for the pure reason that uh, no singular person is irreplaceable. Especially I'm just going to give you a geographical example of this. In a country like India, as opposed to the United States, a lot of people put up with their better halves, just for the sole reason that they want their families to remain as one cohesive unit. But with the advent of such an imaginary world wherein when your physical traits are going to last a lot longer, I believe those individuals who are especially in the dating age, will will actually be more forthcoming in changing partners, for the sheer reason that there is a lot of life left in them to look ahead to, and there is no reason for them to actually put up with people uh, like it was before, or it's not as much as it was before. I wouldn't completely take it out of the equation, but I would still say the demand or the scrutiny on such an event is far less in a world where you have a lot more options.
What about you, Bharat?
Boy, oh boy. I mean, monogamy would be the last thing that I would worry about because of the life expectancy that we've got.
Yeah.
But I mean, don't you already feel that it's already happening right now? People are already having a lot of relationships right now, and I don't think anything's going to change if our life expectancy is going to change because they're already living it that way. And I mean, it all it all comes down to the understanding that people have got between it. If people are mature enough to accept having few partners, then why not? I think, I think that would be possible, but then, and I kind of feel that's already happening right now. So I don't know. This
Hmm.
this is a lame question.
What about the other things? What about the more interesting things? Would you do one job for 160 years, like one
No.
40 years?
Your favorite footballers, your favorite, athletes never need to retire for like 30 years. That's just a
Oh
god.
yeah,
That's just going to
oh
be
yeah,
amazing. That would be
I
really,
mean,
really.
that do you really think a person like Ronaldo is going to play for 30, 40 years, given given he's got the physical body to play for that long?
Well,
he's probably going
40.
to if he can. Ronaldo's probably.
It's an individual thing, yes, but
Yeah, exactly.
if you look at it, he's not going to retire in 10, 12 years. He's going to last probably 25 at least, when he
Mm-hmm.
actually gets bored of it and he wants to move on. Because
Hmm.
it's still a sport, and you're still going to have challenges at some point, be it breaking records, winning trophies, or just taking or carrying a team all by yourself. Any
Mm-hmm.
of the endeavors, even
Again,
some that have missed out, even
yeah.
lift six trophies in a single year or something like that. Something's going to still be unaccounted for, which would need him
A challenge.
to actually play another year or more to actually achieve that. So I think the desire to play will definitely be there for athletes, especially with the money coming in. No one's going to say no as long as they can mentally prepare themselves for such an event. I think fans would absolutely love such a thing.
That's a huge thing, though. Have any of you guys seen Usain Bolt's documentary where he like almost retires, and then because Tyson Gay comes out and publicly challenges him, that's the only reason he went in for that third Olympic.
Yeah, all I saw
So
about Bolt
yeah,
was a
it's
tweet which he said, where he actually marks himself and the second athlete and says he's social distancing. That's all I've been following him for the past 2 weeks. That was a viral
no,
tweet.
yeah. So like he almost wanted to quit, but uh, he needed someone to challenge him. It was too easy for him. He felt like he had proven everything.
Right.
So for him to come back and get that last gold medal before he retired, he needed a rival. So if Ronaldo wants to continue, he definitely needs a rival.
I
He
mean,
has one right now, but from from a realistic standpoint, I feel Ronaldo is gonna last longer than Messi, but I don't know. I could be wrong.
I think the rivalry is actually done. Personally, being a Ronaldo fan, it's hard for me to say this, but I do believe the rivalry is done. I don't think Ronaldo's going to be at his peak anymore, but I think he's going to be a very, very good second or third option in a team for a good 5, 6 years from now, because I believe his physical prowess allows him to do that. Whereas on the other hand, I believe Messi's peak is going to last for probably 2, 3 more years. For one reason being, he's younger than Ronaldo. He's 2 years younger, so he's going to definitely have a peak till, let's say, 33, or he's 33 right now, 35, 34, 35, and after that, uh, due to his physical constraints, and I would imagine the longer we talk in terms of time, the physicality of leagues is going to increase, and
Hmm.
I believe Messi would face a lot more, lot many challenges to actually stay uh,
Do you
relevant.
think the La Liga's physicality is increasing?
Yes, I do believe it is. Having watched, uh, you know, extensive Spanish competitions, at least from a league standpoint, since 2014, I would say I wouldn't even put it on the same page as the Premier League, but I would definitely say it's improving year by year,
No,
because
the physicality is actually increasing in every league. It's just that it's outstanding in the English Premier League, but it's increasing even if you take a look at the French league and the Bundesliga, the German league, the physicality is actually increasing because teams are getting better now. Like
yeah,
even with
Hmm.
small players, they're
right,
getting motivated looking at teams like Leicester and
yeah, that's true.
Norwich City. So.
more than anything else, I mean, the investment from a resource standpoint on something like fitness has exponentially increased. If you actually take a statistic from let's say 2010 and compare it with today, what it is today, you would definitely see probably a 30-40% increase in the number of people employed for the same process. The way the process has expanded,
Mm.
how a lot more comprehensive it has become. Everything from the training facilities to training staff to the equipment that's used to treat injuries, to ensure players maintain their fitness levels, their dieting. I think everything has developed, and that has sort of culminated in this increase in the quality of physicality across Europe's top five leagues, I would say. So yeah, but
But then,
it's still a long
speaking
way to
of
go.
life expectancy here, there are so many other things that we can discuss apart from monogamy.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine the
Like
places that
what?
you can travel. You can live a hippie's life. You can live a professional life. You can do anything
Yeah.
that you want.
Yeah, basically, yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking about. Like, you could live three or four lives. Basically,
Exactly. Yeah.
you could have like a, yeah, like you said, a hippie face. You can have like a, you could go 10 years off into the Himalaya somewhere and have
Mm-hmm.
a Rajinikanth face.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah,
come back and
you
be
can
like
do a
Ranbir
lot.
Kapoor having a couple of girlfriends every year.
Yeah,
So
Yeah, I do believe that.
there goes monogamy right there.
exactly,
But
that's what I'm telling you. That it's not going to change. People are already living that way. So I'm not sure what you're really expecting. Like people are going to be people. So
Yeah,
nothing's going to change
the
except for the fact that
things.
people are going to do a lot more things
Yeah,
than they're doing right now.
I
mm,
think morality would actually matter a lot less in such a world.
I think we're gonna get. Why is that so?
Because I believe people would feel a lot less guilty shifting partners. This is strictly for monogamy, nothing else.
Oh
Yeah,
my
Oh,
god.
okay.
yeah.
Subu's screwed in the
It,
future
So
now.
you are saying it's morally incorrect to have more than one wife.
yeah, at least personally, yeah,
Okay.
I believe that.
I don't know. There's no. You don't have to bring morality in this. I mean, if you're happy, you're gonna stay. If you're not happy, you're gonna quit. So it's as simple as that. And that's what, like I said, if people are going to be mature enough to accept multiple partners, then that's fine. As long as there's an understanding between them, that's it.
Mhm. Okay, you're paging a recording of this to Canada, right?
Yes, Subbu just basically said anyone who's had a divorce is morally wrong.
Exactly. So every American is
No,
wrong.
no, 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 no. You're putting words in my mouth. I'm saying
That's
simultaneous.
what I asked you.
No, no, simultaneously having two partners is wrong, is what I'm saying.
Oh, okay. Okay. Okay,
Okay.
that makes more sense. Okay, I think I need to clarify here because I think I've been using the word monogamy completely wrong all this time. Uh, what I actually meant is people marrying multiple times in their lifetime and not having multiple wives at the same time. Yeah, I think I got that completely wrong.
Wow. Seriously,
I
man,
have
you're allowed to have a difference if you have a
I
difference
have
of
two
opinion.
words for you: Kalinyar Karunanidhi.
Do not speak ill of the dead.
I'm not speaking ill of him. I mean, the man survived for what 97 years, and he lived so happily. So
Fuck, man. Wow. You could have given me lot more, a relevant example, but you decided to.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay, okay.
I'll
I
still work.
think we kind of somehow did end up touching football, so I kind of want to touch on it again.
mhm.
Uh, Bharat, what do you think about this entire Pogba Graham Souness thing that's going on?
So Bharat's gonna ask just
Okay,
like Pogba.
I want to.
Wait,
Okay,
wait,
okay.
wait.
I'm gonna, like, for the listeners who don't know what is going on, I'm gonna kind of give like a quick recap here. So Graham Souness is this Liverpool legend who played in the 70s, I think, in a very successful Liverpool team. I think he won three English titles and like three Champions Leagues or something like that. He was extremely successful. He was the captain for Liverpool for some time. He was also Liverpool manager for sometimes for some time. He is currently a pundit on Sky Sports, and he has made it his full-time job to criticize Paul Pogba on everything. He calls him out even when he's not playing. Anything that Manchester United do wrong is because of Paul Pogba, because he's called him so many things. He's called him toxic. He's called him uh, uh, the reason why United are where they are, and whatnot. So he has this huge history of attacking Paul Pogba for several years now. And recently, the official United podcast had Paul Pogba on, and they asked him about Graeme Souness. So the host asked Paul Pogba about Graeme Souness, and Pogba just goes like, "I don't even know who this player is. I've seen his face before, but I don't know who he is. Some people have told me that he used to be a great player, but I've never heard of him." That's basically what he said. And immediately, the very next day, Sky Sports they decide to have Graeme Souness and Jamie Carragher for some reason. So uh, Jamie Carragher comes on and he's like, "This is absolutely not okay. He's a legend. It's disrespectful that Pogba said that. Uh, he should know the legend, and he should acknowledge that. He should have more respect." And he like Carragher actually starts this conversation, but Graeme Souness joins in, where they both say, uh, they basically say, put your medals on the table instead of talking all of this to Paul Pogba, who is a World Cup winner. So, and this is the current scenario. And so, what do you think of this? So, I will explain my position after you go first. But what do you think, Bharat?
I seriously came to know of the situation right now. Like I didn't know about the whole
Wow.
situation. Like and seriously, so I was just googling it right now while you were talking about it. So
Uh,
Okay, I'm surprised.
uh, I don't know, man. I mean, don't you think that he's been really toxic for Manchester United for the past couple of
But
years now?
that's not the question at all,
yeah,
right? I'm not asking you about that. I'm
Okay,
asking, should should he have why did they have to come out and criticize that he said that he did not know him? To me that seems like an honest answer. How do you expect Paul Pogba, a French player, to know a rival club legend who played in the 70s? Do you know, as a Liverpool fan, who Graeme Souness is?
I do, but I mean.
yeah,
Okay, yeah, I mean, I give it to Pogba. I mean, it's not necessary for him to know who's been criticizing him because there's a lot of pundits right now, and there's a lot of legends who's giving their views on a lot of players now. So, I mean, I agree to what Pogba did, but honestly, what Jeremy Souness said, I mean, that's kind of true too. So, I don't know. I mean, I'm
What
not.
what is true? You think all his opinions on Pogba is justified?
Most of it is. I mean, even honestly, I've seen Manchester United fans come out and criticize Pogba for being, toxic in the team atmosphere, and
I've said that before. Yeah.
yeah, and showing a lack of interest to even play games. So, I mean, he is partially right based on whatever you've told me. So,
No, but so there's a difference between. So most of my criticism of Paul
mhm.
Pogba has been from his time with Jose Mourinho, when he was trying to almost create a division between what the manager was saying and what the players wanted. So he was creating like his own group within the club, and I was completely against that. And to a certain extent, unless he comes out publicly and says that he wants to uh, like put in all his effort into playing for this club for the foreseeable future, I do not trust Paul Pogba to be a positive influence for the club. But I still do think that Graeme Souness, he has taken it completely out of proportion. So he has criticism about what Paul Pogba does outside of the pitch, like his haircuts, his dancing. He has criticisms about Paul Pogba when Paul Pogba did not even play a match when he's like out injured. So clearly, Souness has this obsession with Pogba that is it's borderline crazy. And another thing that I want to bring up is with Jamie Carragher and Souness is that they in Sky Sports, I think it was about 2 weeks ago. I mean, 2 months ago, when they were discussing the best Premier League team that has ever played, they had no hesitation, both of them putting in Steven Gerrard in there. And when Paul Pogba talks about Graham Souness, suddenly they want to talk about medals. What happened to that? What happened to medals when they were putting Steven Gerrard in their best ever Premier League team? Is it like exempt for their own legends that they don't have to have any medals to be a great player? But if it's Paul Pogba, he has to have medals to be a great player. What's up with that?
It's not just about being a great player. It's about showing passion for the club that you're playing for. I mean, Gerard, in spite of even being under a rough and bad management, he's always been for the club. Like he would give his heart out for the club. So probably that's what they meant. They expect a player when he's in a club to play for the club, irrespective of what the situation is, irrespective of how the manager's using them. Okay, so that's what they're expecting out of every player to show and be as loyal as Gerard has been.
Okay,
And
I
I
guess.
mean,
But
speaking of,
why
okay,
is that a different standard for Graham Souness then? For Graham Souness versus Pogba, he says it's all about medals.
I think he's just salty and was maybe a little drunk when he gave out this comment.
Oh my god! Like he has this obsession with
Yeah,
Paul Pogba that is unbelievable. Like, and I'm sick and tired of it. Like Sky Sports, ESPN, like every pundit on there is like an ex Liverpool player. I don't know why they wanna do that. It's like what's the other guy's name? Steve Nicole on ESPN, Liverpool. Like this, like it's unbelievable, man.
I mean, let's be honest. Paul Pogba is really a overrated and hyped player right now for the amount
I
that they paid for him, like from
That's like
Juventus.
okay. So
yeah.
if you're gonna discuss about Paul Pogba,
Hmm.
like first of all, I don't think he's overrated at all. I still think if he plays one complete season, so he has not done that for 2 seasons now. If he plays one complete season, I think he would do really well. I think he'd be pretty close to Kevin De Bruyne in
No,
terms of assists and goals.
that's what I'm asking you. He's expecting the team to change for him. That's really bad for a player. You get that, right? Like he is toxic. He's willing not to play. He's willing to act like he's been injured and not play for the team. And he
There's no,
wanted out last.
absolutely no evidence for that. That's something Graham Souness would say. Like, do you know that Paul Pogba was acting injured?
With the whole Mini Raiola thing, I would really believe that he wanted out last season. You do know that, right?
Look,
Yeah,
he had.
like again, I
Yeah.
said like under the Mourinho thing, I
No,
completely
even
accept that.
even under Solskjaer, like even when they were asking questions to Solskjaer, like post match presentation, he would never answer questions regarding Paul Pogba.
No, he always
Look,
did. He would just say he's injured and he won't be back soon. That's all he said. But I
has his
I don't know.
baggage.
So again, Subu, go ahead.
Yeah, Pogba has his baggage. I mean, that's like undeniable, and he has an attitude which is not necessarily perceived as acceptable in a team which is trying to find its feet after after having a glorious recent past and having dominated the Premier League for the larger part of the last decade. It's I would still say, you know uh, to pertain to this discussion, Soudis has no business commenting on what Pogba does outside the football pitch. That's none of his concern. He has absolutely he shouldn't have any objection with any of that because that's Pogba's personal life. And when the Manchester United team management and his own teammates aren't really bothered about these events, Souness, who is as Pogba said, who's not even in the picture, need not comment on something like this. And I believe this has also been blown out of proportion, like Rishi, you mentioned, by media. That's just because they don't have anything else as content right
Oh
now,
yeah.
with being suspended. It's just blown out of proportion unnecessarily. But off late, I would still say this. I mean, for the past 2 3 years, the job that ex footballers have been doing as reporters, journalists, or commentators hasn't been of the highest standard, because they're actually trying to promote this as a business venture. Look, they're trying to earn money. That's fine, but at the same
Mm.
time, critiquing is fine, but to actually get to what the player does outside the football pitch is none of your concern. That's his business. As long as he gives you goals and assists, he can actually go to a bar or a strip club every night after training, and you have nothing to say about that. You should have nothing to say about that.
Okay, Subu, what do you think about Paul Pogba as a player then? Is he still world class?
I believe he's worth his weight in gold wherever he plays, wherever being whatever team he plays. If United manage to keep hold of him for next season, I think it would be better for United rather than actually see him go. I still believe he has a lot left in him to deliver, and more than anything else, he has a point to prove to himself. I would say from a potential, you know, s- from a actually living up to your potential standpoint. He has done it for France. He did it for France last year in the year before the World Cup, and I believe for United he hasn't really completely shown, as you said, over the course of 38 games, what he can do
Mm.
with the ball at his feet. I would still be a little speculative of how what his ethics could be, but I do believe he is definitely going to have a really good impact on United's
Mm.
win, performance on the pitch. But I would still be speculative as to how much he can do. Not he's definitely going to be better than the average midfielder, but I don't know if he can match people like
Mm.
De Bruyne, or even for that matter, someone like let's say uh, a,
Pirlo.
so
What did he say?
it's no, I'm just saying
Pirlo.
it's difficult for me to gauge his quality, especially after two injury ravaged seasons and a lot of uh, emotional
Mm.
baggage.
Yeah, and you also have to remember that he's playing at a club that uh, is like in rebuild, right? Like we have a team that is extremely half baked, and he does seem to perform well even in that team. And I think Paul Pogba has the potential for a better goal return at least than Kevin De Bruyne. Kevin De Bruyne certainly does get insane amount of assists, but Paul Pogba does have that ability to go in and nick a few goals. He's scored a lot of important goals for us in the last 3 seasons. So there's that. So my biggest sadness with Paul Pogba is that when he wants to, he can be an absolutely positive influence to any team. So we've seen the videos that of Paul Pogba in the dressing room for France in the World Cup, right? So he can be an absolutely positive influence to a team if he wanted to, but he clearly does not feel that way in United, or like from the interviews that he did last year, it did seem like he wanted to leave the club. So for me, as long as he so until he comes out and publicly states that he wants to stay at United and he wants to perform for the club, and he puts that on paper and signs a long-term contract here, I would still want him to go. But yeah, let's see how it uh, plays out.
Don't you
Yeah,
think that's a really a bad outlook for a player playing for a club like Manchester United? I mean, what do you expect of a player uh, playing for such big clubs? Like, don't you think they'll have to give it all? And like I told you, they need to play for the club and not expect the club to change for them. So that's probably the outlook that he's been giving out for the past few years now, and that's kind of bad. And he's been a bad influence on young players too. Like if you ask me,
yeah, the young
Like
players are
who?
uh,
packed up and
Jesse
sent home.
Lingard.
Yeah, Lingard's leaving, Ferdinand's leaving, so there's no more young midfielders
Oh my god.
who need influence
I
on
think
ball.
a lot of this I think a lot of this also has to do with Mino Raiola. Like everything that is spoken about Paul Pogba, not even one has come out from his mouth. It's either his brothers or Mino Raiola. So that's like a huge concern for me. Like I've never heard Paul Pogba publicly come out and criticize the
And
way the
you've
club is run or anything like that. But
and you've never
you
seen him
have
deny
Mino
too.
Raiola. Yes, yes, yeah, that's absolutely true. I wish that he would do that, but Mino Raiola is the one who's like coming out and saying Solskjaer cannot lock his player up. He's saying that uh, the club is not run properly and all that. He says these United is his worst client and all that. So it's like we have this agent who's absolutely toxic for any club, and I think um, like I think it was actually a positive thing that United do not want to do business with him for future players. So yeah, that's like I feel like uh, the agents have too much power in modern football,
Yeah, they
Yeah,
absolutely
especially
do.
these big ones.
for another day, I guess. Yeah, but that's true though. I mean, I do agree with that. I think it's overwhelmingly in their control nowadays, especially with the amount of money that's circulating
Mhm.
between football boards.
Yeah,
It's ridiculous as to the amount of influence that they possess over an individual's uh, presence or absence in a football team. But yeah, I
mm,
mean, I agree with Bharat's point as well. But, Pogba, the way he has, actually shown intent or the lack of it, for that matter, is really not good for a team. But I believe since United is, as you said, in a rebuild, uh,
Oh, so that's what you're calling it right now. Okay.
no, I'm saying it's something that they can afford to do. Uh, the fact that they can still take a chance on Pogba because the upside to this could be something amazing. He's someone who can single-handedly change things, week in, week out. So the upscale to this is still very, uh, you know, alluring to uh, but I would still say this: when he walks out to play his first, competitive game, be it, in 2 months' time as a part of the same season, or let's say of the next season, he's going to be under a larger microscope, wherein there are more questions than answers when he actually takes the field for the first time. He's going to have to prove himself.
yeah, it's insane.
Yeah, and it's
Pogba's
never.
always under the microscope.
No, no, no. I'm just saying it's never going to be his team for the first 5, 6 games until he proves himself. It's no longer
Mm,
his team. He is an important. He's going to be an important player. He's going to be viewed that way, but it's never going to be his team from here on out.
mm.
Irrespective of
Dude,
how he
obviously
performs.
he was
How
the most expensive player, so obviously he's going to be under the microscope for a long time now. I mean, look at Bale, and at least I honestly feel that Bale at least proved his worth
Yes, he did.
by yeah, he did. So and Pogba actually hasn't proved his worth yet. So
Dude, Paul Pogba has the most number of assists for any player in United since he came back. So what more can he do? And
that's
his
how
return
bad
is
the team
amazing.
is.
And his
The,
return is amazing. Yeah, like yeah, the team is bad exactly.
Yeah.
So he's doing his bit. Like every time he plays, so every time Paul Pogba plays, I have no complaints at all. Like I can always expect him to deliver. Like I'm never. It's not like watching Jesse Lingard play, right?
No,
Where I can't wait for him to be taken off the pitch. Like
dude, you're talking
when the
like as
ball
if
goes
he.
to Pogba,
Uh huh.
I expect things to happen. So that's all I can expect from him, right? So, but outside of the pitch, yes, he has his problems. But as a player, he's been doing everything that he can in this subpar United team. So,
Dude, you
as a
you cannot
player, I have
call this
very
a
little
subpar.
criticism of him.
You cannot call United a subpar team because I mean, see, for the amount that you paid for a player like
In the
for
last two seasons,
all I'm saying is he should have proven his worth for the amount that they paid for. Like for example, if you're talking about subpar teams, I would take a look at Vardy. I mean, he plays in a subpar team and he's made a lot of things. Okay, take Vardy or take Mahrez for example for that one incredible season that they had. I'm expecting performances like that, and Pogba has not been giving out performances like that. I mean, I do agree that he's really good at the position that he's playing, and he's been really, he's been helping the team overall. But then he's still not uh, given his worth for the amount that they paid for. I mean, they expected leagues out of him. Like they expected him to single handedly take the team, but he hasn't done that yet.
hmm,
Is all that I'm saying.
okay,
yeah.
okay. Let's see. what happens in the future. So
Hmm.
uh, before we go to the before we wrap this up, I want to bring up two things. One thing, I don't want to linger over this for too long, but I wanted to get your thoughts on this, which I thought was quite funny. So Manchester United, they say, are in a better position to sign Jadon Sancho because of not having success in the last few years. So the explanation goes like this. So clubs like Juventus, Real Madrid, Barcelona, and even Liverpool in the last few seasons, their biggest source of income has been, and Bayern Munich, their biggest source of income has been from winning trophies, right? So their biggest source of income has been from Champions League titles. They've been from winning the league and all that money that goes along with it. But United have not been successful in so long that the board has now learned how to run the club without having trophies. So it looks like if the season gets truncated right now, United are going to be the team that is least impacted because the club basically runs itself without trophies right now. So there's no like realistically speaking, United could go for 100 million transfer in this transfer window, and even clubs like Real Madrid might hesitate to do that. Is what the reports are saying. What do you guys think about that?
I'm really not sure about this because what I've read is Liverpool's got their new Nike deal, and I've heard that they're getting close to I don't know, some 100 million as revenue or something. I'm not sure, but I don't think financially it's going to matter much for all these Premier League clubs anyway. But I, I mean, if the question is, does Sancho want to join Manchester United?
I think at this point it's all
Yeah,
conjecture. I believe it's going to boil down to the player. I don't think any team, as Bharat said, is going to be short-handed in terms of the transfer budget. It's ultimately going to be what he wants, both personally and from a competition standpoint. If he prioritizes the Champions League, he cannot come to United. He has to stick with Liverpool or even Man City, if
he
that's an
won't
option.
go to Liverpool. He's a Manchester lad. How will he go to Liverpool?
Yeah, I mean, I still don't believe all that. I do believe, if a right offer is on the table, he's going to take it. Chelsea, if I can throw in another team there, Chelsea is another viable destination. Especially with the amount of young talent they have, it'll be ridiculous if he joins Chelsea. And I believe a lot of these transfers over the past 3 4 years have boiled down to the personal
Mm.
interest of the player over anything else, and I think this is going to end up the same way as well. And it's not like Sancho is the only kid in the market. He is probably the most attractive one considering his age, but people like
Yeah.
Werner and
Oh yeah, Werner also. Yeah, he's gonna
uh,
move to the Premier League, is what they're saying.
yeah, so it's going to be a fun, transfer window, and it's also extended because of this pandemic. So I'm
Mm.
thinking a lot of players are coming to the English league. That's for certain.
Mm.
Also,
I'm
the talent here is also good enough in number in terms of youth developing across teams.
yeah, I'm willing to bet uh, next season Jadon Sancho is gonna be a United player.
Okay.
Yeah,
I can feel the pain in Bharat's voice.
What? Please, we've got enough wingers in our team, so I'm not going to be worried about. Plus, I don't think Liverpool's ever in contention to have Sancho anyway.
Yeah, I
I
don't
guess,
think they went for Sancho. I think you
yeah,
went for Werner more, right?
yep,
yep.
yep. I think they're looking to sign Werner, so let's see how that goes.
Okay.
It's going to
Okay.
be a good fight between Pulisic and Sancho, though.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
No,
There's a
the
lot of new young
on the
talent.
right, Sancho plays on the left. Williams done for his Chelsea career with his Chelsea career. So
But I don't think Chelsea is going for Sancho either. So yeah, chances are that
they
Sancho,
are they
if
are
if
they are.
if Sancho does want to leave Dortmund, I think he would definitely. I mean, United is going to be the only option because they have the only one who's willing to pay that much. I think
Mm.
they're definitely going to pay around 150 million for him now.
Yep.
So
Rashford on the left, Sancho on the right.
yeah,
You continue to dream. We'll see if it's going to be reality in
Yeah.
two.
and then and
I'm
then
like I'm like certain right now. I'm like 100% sure it's happening.
And then next year by this time, Rishi will be like, we are in the rebuilding process right now.
Uh,
Okay.
We're probably getting Mbappe next season, and yeah, let's see how that goes.
yeah, Perez
Oh
says I.
yeah, Mbappe. What about that? Real Madrid fan. What do you think? Should you guys get Mbappe?
No,
Yeah,
Benzema's doing fine.
see, if anyone says we are good enough without Mbappe, that they're just lunatics. So no one's going to say no for Mbappe, but it's a matter of how much they're willing to part with, and money is never an issue. But in terms of personnel, if they really want to throw people under the bus who've been loyal servants to the club, and I am talking about Kareem here, so he has been
Dude,
being
but I've been hearing a lot of reports that money is an issue with the entire COVID situation. I'll send you a few podcasts that I heard from reliable journalists who think even clubs like Real Madrid, because they have been relying on success, right?
Hmm.
So if they don't get that money, it's gonna be it's gonna be different. So yeah, I don't know. Let's see how it goes. But
What do you guys
yeah,
think of Neymar?
yeah, I believe
he's
he still has a lot of football left in him, but
Yep.
don't know if he'll be ready to actually make it out of Paris.
I
yeah.
mean,
Who can pay for him right now?
I
Yeah,
really want him to go to Barcelona. Like, I really want him to see him with Messi one more time before Messi finishes his career.
that would
But
be bad for me as a Madrid fan, but as a football fan, everyone
yep,
would love.
that would be the best.
Yeah,
But yeah, I don't think Barcelona's got the funds to get Neymar back now.
their
And I,
management is really screwed at this point.
Mhm.
Five, there's six management board members have already resigned, and it's literally chaotic.
Yeah,
In
it's Messi FC.
What? Oh yeah. So what do you guys think of Dembele in Barcelona?
yes, I mean,
He's been unlucky, right?
yeah, he's just been injured too often. So I would say, I mean, personally, Barca wouldn't stick with him. Is what I feel. They would find a replacement, especially if someone like Lautaro Martinez comes in to replace Suarez. They're changing the whole system. And I did come across an article on Sports Tribune, I believe, which
Dude,
said
they got Brathwaite like out of nowhere this
no, no,
January, and
so pretty much anyone outside of Messi, Busquets, and PK is still and Ansu Fati, who has been really good off the academy. Everyone else is up for sale. They don't
do you
care
think
No, it
who's
was
going.
not PK, right? I think it was someone else. I think it was.
Langley?
I think I saw that. No, it was De Jong.
Oh,
Okay, maybe yeah. I mean, my point is they're willing to cut off people
Yeah,
like
yeah, they're
Dembele.
gonna sell a lot of players. Yep.
do you think Dembele is as good as Sancho?
No, I don't.
Uh, I think he had the potential to be, but
Yeah.
I haven't even seen him play. That's to be honest.
Yeah, but then
I believe if you extrapolate what Sancho can achieve over 10 years and what Dembele can, I would still say, based on initial observation, that Dembele is going to be injured for another two times or three times in his career. That's just the way it is. I mean, he's just this unfortunate kid who's going to be, ridiculous injuries all his footballing career. I hope it doesn't happen, but by the looks of it, you really haven't seen any player who has seen a lot of injuries early in his career come out of it unscathed, and play at the top of his
I
level.
mean, Kingsley Coman did. Like, Coman had a real bad injury, and he was about to retire at the age of 22, but he's back.
Recovering
So,
from injury and playing really good football is one thing. Uh,
mhm.
we'll see how much Coman lasts. I'm not saying he's going to be done by 28. I'm saying the 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 extension of his peak is going to be curtailed because of injuries.
Ooh,
So
okay. Speaking of another winger, then let's talk about Nabri. What do you guys think of Nabri?
yeah, Napoli
I don't
is
know.
is
I don't.
pressure who just was not properly treated in Arsenal. So it was just bad luck, I guess, and the fact that they didn't trust in him enough. But Gnabry is not in the same level as
But
a.
is he? Yeah, exactly. I don't think he's like top five
Yeah, but
prospects or something like that.
he's not going
But
to
he's
change
really good, though. I mean,
a
What
league.
I've seen, it was that one Champions League match, and then have you guys been following uh how he's playing?
I
not
haven't.
really. But yeah, I'm just
Been,
strictly. I mean, he's been performing well on all the Champions League games, I suppose.
Yeah.
And
He is
w-
good, I mean, but I wouldn't put him in the same class as Mbappe, Sancho, and then obviously I'll probably I don't know do a 1B on Nabry. He's not a 1A for me. He's not going to lead a team to trophies.
What the hell does that mean? Okay, so we're gonna hit 2 hours now. I wanna wrap this up. So, really quick question before we finish.
Mhm.
You guys can give me like a 3 to 4 sentence answer at the max. What are you guys doing to keep yourself occupied during lockdown?
Okay, I'll go first. I've started uh, writing extensively. I'm actually working on a book. It's more of a personal. Uh, it's an extended diary kind of thing. So it's about a few individuals. So not everyone can relate to it. So I really won't be releasing this book. I'll just let them know, and that would be the end of this. But I am writing a lot, and I've also started playing chess one more time. So I used
Mm,
to play a lot of chess in my childhood, and I had to refrain from it due to various reasons. And I've started pick that up again, and it's been a lot of fun. I'm basically playing against people online, and
mm.
I do that probably 1 hour a day. Uh, it's a lot of fun, and yeah, pretty much writing and chess is what I've been doing, other than watch TV, I guess. But these two have been my outlets for mental stability and killing time basically.
What about you, Bharat?
I mean, I've been working on self improvement. Like I've been like exercising on a daily basis, and I'm learning skateboarding right now. So I've been doing that like every day now. And apart
Mhm.
from that, I'm cooking, and I'm also
Mm,
yeah. And apart from that, I'm also learning new tools. Like I've been learning Python too, for predictive analysis, so that I can analyze this data. Like for example, I'm just analyzing the stock market as of now, and it's kind of it's pretty fun right now, but it's got a lot of programming to it, and there's lots to learn. So yeah, I've been honestly working on a lot of self improvement that I've been trying to do for a long time, but never got the time to, because
mm.
yeah, I was procrastinating a lot, but now I've got the time, so I can't blame not having time. So I really thank COVID. Thank you so much.
Wow.
Sweet. Okay.
So what are you doing, Rishi?
Oh, for me, it's most of it has been starting with this podcast, um, and have been so I've been exercising for a long time now, so I've continued to do that. And for me, it has also been because I work nights. It has opened up time for more social interactions because I feel less tired all the time right now because I'm getting more rest. So I am investing a lot of time with family and friends. So that's been a good change of pace for me. And yeah, I've kind of taken a step back from being productive in the work side of things. So yeah, I'm looking at the other side, I like my personal interests right now. So I'm actually enjoying it. Yeah. Okay. Unless you guys have anything else to say, I think it's time to wrap this one up.
Yep. It was good
Okay.
talking to you both.
Yeah, like I think this was a lot more productive as opposed to the first pod we had. The first pod we had was, yes, it was football, but I think it was
It was more
uh,
of a friendly conversation. So,
coherent, and this had a lot of purpose. I believe. I think it's just
ooh,
I
was monogamy a purpose now?
oh come on, that is probably the worst question ever. But
the the
but
biggest takeaway from this podcast is that Subu thinks that anyone who's divorced anyone
come on,
is going to hell, is going to Hindu
the
hell.
the
I
biggest take from this podcast is Subbu's already been living for 300 years, so
was about to
he's
actually ask.
already got an extensive lifespan. So, and he's still single.
Oh,
So there's no such thing as monogamy, and I don't believe in it. Hence proved.
fucking midnight here, and I'm gonna sleep now. So fuck off. Have a good night. Bye
Oh,
bye.
All the
Bharat,
single ladies listening to this podcast, Subbu is single.